Much, Barbara. Hi, everybody. My name is Ryan Story. I'm an analyst for CSFA. I used to be the lead analyst for CSFP, but now I work more in our conduit program. So I'm more in a support role with Michael Pack, who is our current lead. He's on leave right now, serving our country. So he's got a little bit more important things at the current moment to handle. So we just wanted to give kind of a quick advertisement about our application and our online document portal that will be opening in early May. We're working with IT right now to hammer out the details, as you can imagine, and the details that we'll go over from OPSC were a small amount of it, but there's a lot of documents and a lot of larger sizes PDFs that are submitted. So we're just making sure IT can handle that and that we have all the information needed. As mentioned before, we handle more of the financial review side of it. There is some operational review, but the main focus is, of course, on the school's financial situation and or confirmation of lump sum. I wanted to share our website really quickly. This is where the online document portal and application will be located once it's active, right in this area right here. This website is a link off of the CSFA website, the Charter School Facilities Program. You can check out our regulations, our proposed regulations, and as well as getting in contact with us here and up here. This is very important though. If you guys could sign up for our listserv, once the application and document portal become active, we're gonna go ahead and let everyone know through our listserv. So it'll be a very large announcement that way. And we're also working with schools that have reached out to us to get our document requests out to them as well. Please know we're working through that as we're a little bit short on bandwidth, but we're gonna make sure everybody gets that information within the next couple of weeks so we can start these reviews on a timely manner. And as Barbara mentioned, I am actually catching a flight at one point, so I'm gonna hang out as long as I can. If you have any questions, please feel free to email us, reach out in the chat. I definitely trust that Barbara and Aaron will pass on any information or questions that we can address with everybody. But again, we're very, very involved with this process, so don't hold back. Please feel free to ask us any questions at any time, just to make the process go a lot smoother as we get closer to the actual board meetings.
Thank you, Ryan. So I will deviate just a little bit here from what I said earlier. Does anybody have anything specific for CSFA that you were hoping to ask today? I think we can use a couple minutes right now so we can catch Ryan on that. So please feel free to either raise your hand or drop it in the chat or unmute and ask your question.
And of course, if the question is more detailed, please do feel free to reach out to us through email.
Okay, I'm not seeing anything in the chat.
I'm horribly offended.
Feel free to unmute if you just want to ask your question. All right, if you're still thinking about it, you can still drop it in the chat. And if Ryan's here, like he mentioned, he'll address it. Otherwise, we will make sure to get it back to CSFA if it's something OPSC can't cover.
Thanks,
All
Barbara.
right, thank you. Aaron, I think you're up.
Thank you. Okay, let me go ahead and share my screen here. Okay, can everyone see my screen? Yep, okay.
Yep, looks good.
So today's presentation, the agenda is going to be a little different. We were originally going to be covering our application first and then moving over to CSFA. But, due to some unforeseen schedule changes, CSFA went first. Their presentation also was a little bit quicker. Our application is going to be a lot more intensive. There's a lot more to it. So I think we're going to have some more time today than we would have. So that means we will definitely have time to answer all the questions, and you may even get out of this a little early. Just to review a little bit, so this information was shared in that previous webinar that we had back in March, which you can still access from our Access Charter School Funding page on the OPSC website. The recorded webinar is there as long with the PowerPoint. And to answer a previous question in the chat, yes, this is going to be recorded, and this webinar will be posted there shortly. The PowerPoint for today is currently posted there. So applications can start being submitted on May 2nd, and 11:59 p.m. June 3rd is the deadline. Nothing can come in after that. You can go in now and start creating drafts. You can go into OPSC online and fill out your information. You just don't want to submit that. If you were to say accidentally submit it, it wouldn't be reviewed. You would need to have to start that process over. The link is provided right there. And this is going to be our preferred method for submitting an application. If this fails and there is you don't have the appropriate internet to operate this, if it's going to mean a matter of you being able to submit on time or not, then we will accept an emailed application using the traditional form that is also available under documents on our Access Charter School Funding page. Those forms with all supporting documents will be emailed to our application review team with a CC to me. They can be electronically signed. Also, scanned signatures are okay, but just keep in mind that we really do prefer the online submittal, and hopefully these emailed applications will only be coming in because there was no other option. So again, this is a review of information that was previously provided. There's maybe one or two new points in here in that previous webinar, but this is things that you need to complete before you can submit an application, and also some things to complete to help you with filling out that application. So you don't have to stop in the middle. One, before you submit, you should have already notified the district that your project will be physically located in and that serves the same grade level as your project will house. You would have already notified them and waited 30 days before you submitted your application. Now, this only applies to charter schools applying independently. Districts obviously know that the application is being submitted. And this is really important because we do often have scenarios where charter schools are authorized by, let's say, a COE, but really the students that they serve, should that charter school close, those students would be absorbed by the unified district or the high school elementary district, not the COE. Likewise, grade level. Sometimes you'll have a district that serves a certain grade level authorize a charter school that maybe serves kids outside of that grade level. Well, you need to make sure you are certifying the district where the project's physically located and that serves the students your project will house. So sometimes you might have two districts to notify, but a lot of times, or quite often, maybe you'll be notifying a district that is different than your authorizer. May 4th, which is coming up next week, is the last day that a district can receive a notification. So the district has to actually receive it. So it's not when you send it out, but when they receive it, that 30 days starts. So May 4th is the last day for that to happen and for you to be able to still apply at the round and meet the deadline. Also for charters applying independently, if you're applying for rehabilitation, you do need to have a district board approved and signed rehabilitation agreement before you can submit your application. Now, this is not a use agreement or a lease agreement or anything like that. It's a very much more simplified agreement that is just going to show that the district knows you're applying for rehabilitation funds for their facilities. So that's basically, it can be a very small agreement so that we know if we provide a preliminary apportionment down the road, the district isn't going to say they weren't aware of this application coming in. You're also going to need a school board resolution that would be approved by the board of the applicant that supports the submittal of this application. You're going to use this date when you sign your certification on the application. And for charter applicants, this resolution will also include the names of the designated representatives. So these are the people or the person that can sign and submit the application on behalf of the charter school. You'll also need a CDE recommended site size letter. This can be requested from Angel Dowdy at CDE. If you haven't already requested that letter, reach out to her as soon as possible. You'll also need to determine your charter school general location, a little more on that on the next slide. And then if you are going to be applying for a new construction project or a combination rehabilitation new construction project, it'll help and make it so you don't have to stop your process of creating your application if you can determine if the district you're located in is broken out into high school attendance areas, and if they are, which high school attendance area your project will be located in. You can get that information from your district. So a lot of this information was covered, as I mentioned, in that previous webcast, which is available on our charter webpage. So the charter school general location, this is a defined term. You will provide what your charter school general location is in your narrative. Basically, it is a minimum of a 1 mile radius to a maximum of a 3 mile radius from either your current or your proposed location. So if you are going to be buying a new site, you can use cross streets for that proposed location. Otherwise, you would be using an address, the exact address. Again, you're going to provide that narrative, that general charter school location in your narrative. And this can be used for if you are going to be acquiring a site, performing your median cost per acre valuation. And then this also can be used with looking for another public school that has a higher free and reduced price meal percentage. So that's going to be important to determine. So getting started, the first thing you're going to do before you submit, you need to create an OPSC online account. This can be requested by email to the online OPSC online support email address, or you can email myself. Charters, with your request, you are going to go ahead and include a copy of that approved board resolution so we can see you are the designated charter representative, your position, email, all of your mailing information, the grade level you are approved to serve in your petition, and then the name of the district or districts that your project will be in. You might be submitting more than one application, and maybe that you've got a school in one district and another school in another. Remember, this might be different than your authorizer, and that the district has to serve the same grade level as the charter. Once that an account is created for you, district and charter schools can then assign delegates. This would be like a consultant. You'll basically be giving somebody permission to fill out an application for you and then save it for you so you can sign and submit. Something really important about this is it is creating an account. You are emailing somebody working in the office. So we can only create the accounts Monday through Friday when we're here. It's not like other accounts you might create online where a person doesn't have to do anything and you can create it any time of day. So keep that in mind. Another thing to request now is all projects will need a project tracking number. This is a universal number that 3 agencies use to identify a project. Again, this is requested by email, so it needs to be requested, or we would only be able to reply to this, Monday through Friday. A key point with this is in the scenario I've pointed out where a charter school will be applying under a district that is not their authorizer. You can go ahead. This is kind of the one little area where it's going to deviate. I constantly am telling you, it's the district where you're physically located and that serves the same grade level. This is the one area it's going to deviate a little bit. You are going to request to create a PTN under your authorizing district. This is because that's the only district your site's going to populate as, and for you to select in the PTN database. So go ahead and do that. And that's okay for this particular process only. So logging into OPSC online, you can go ahead and get it from the OPSC website. Under the resources tab, you can then select online application tools for school construction projects, and then the OPSC online link is there. It should also be available as well from the charter page, but you can access it at both locations. You will sign in using your email and your password that you created when you requested your account. And this will take you to a dashboard. This dashboard will be blank at this point, but once you submit an application or create drafts, when you log in, you will see those drafts and submitted applications here. To start an application, you are going to click on Create New SFP Funding Application. At this screen, you will select No. This means that you have not already submitted an application for any other reason for the associated with this project. And then you will go ahead and start entering the district and kind of main header information for this application. You're going to select the district that the project will be located in. You're seeing my screen that I would see, which has all districts available, but districts will only see their district, and delegates and charter schools will only see the districts that they have permissions to submit applications in. For the program type, you will then select charter preliminary apportionment. Districts will have all of these options available, so make sure you select the correct one. Charter schools will only be able to select charter preliminary apportionment. This is where you will enter in that high school attendance area. So as you can see, this is information needed to even start your application. That's why I mentioned it's helpful to have that now, so that way you don't have to stop at this point and go, oh shoot, I have to go find this information. If 00, so the high school attendance areas are a 2-digit number. If you were to only see 00 district-wide, then the district's not broken out into HSAAs, and you can select that. If you are a standalone rehabilitation project, then regardless if they're broken out into HSAs or not, select district-wide. The only projects that need to identify if their project is located in an HSAA are standalone new construction projects and combination rehabilitation new construction projects. You would identify it for both, so that way their application numbers align with each other. You'll then enter your project tracking number that you already requested. Again, remember you are requesting that project tracking number under your authorizing district, because that's where your school will show up. So I just want to point out that this 5-digit district code is not going to match your PTN. So your PTN is going to be maybe a 1 to 3 or possibly 4-digit number. This won't match. That is okay. If it comes to the point where your project is going to receive a preliminary apportionment, then we will go ahead and fix this issue at that point. But right now, this is kind of our workaround for those scenarios. After you type in this number, make sure you hit enter. That's what will make it save, and then you can move on to the next question. Lastly, you're going to enter an application nickname. This is used by you only. This will not appear on the application. It will be the name that populates back on that dashboard once you submit the draft, an application or create a draft. So you can make it, if you're submitting multiple applications, a name that's going to be easy for you to identify. It could be the charter school name, whatever. It doesn't matter. This is your own personal name to give the application to make it easy for you. And then that'll take you to this next screen where you are now going to identify if you are applying for new construction or rehabilitation funding. So if you are applying for both, you are going to rehabilitate district-owned facilities, but you're also going to add on to the site. You will do this process twice, and you'll submit one application for new construction and one application for rehabilitation. After you select the type of funding, you will hit continue, and at that point, a draft has been made. So if you have to stop, you can come back and it'll be there. This will take you to the informations and instructions page for the 5009. It does have in here, and I've outlined it with a red box, a link that will take you to the list of required documents that you are going to need to upload at the end of this application. Go ahead and press Start Application, and that will start the data entry for the application. But just to let you see, this is if you were to press on that link for completed application checklist, this is what will pop up. Just make sure you are using the February 2022 version. There are a couple of different places where you can access this link, and I believe all of them are current and have been updated. But just in case, make sure you're always using February 2022. So once you've hit Start Application, this is going to be your first data entry screen. So these first couple of screens I'm going to go through are going to be the same screens you will see whether you selected new construction or rehabilitation on that last screen. There is a point where I'll have to break it up and show you, okay, this is going to be what the screen's going to look like had you selected new construction, and this is what the screen's going to look like had you selected rehab, because our system is created so that rehabilitation questions will not show up in a new construction app and vice versa. But currently right now, this is what you will see regardless of your project type. So you are first going to indicate who the applicant is, the district or the charter. If it is the charter, then this second question will pop up asking for the legal name of the applicant. This is going to be who is going to be applying the legal applicant. It might be the charter school. It could be the same as the charter school's name. But if you have a charter parent organization, it might be them. We've had applications come through where even though there was a parent organization, they wanted the charter school to be the one that was applying. But keep in mind, the applicant is the one that is responsible for managing the project, will receive the funds, and if a loan is requested, will be responsible for paying back that loan. Lastly, you'll enter your most recent approval date for your petition or renewal, a revision, just the most recent date. You can go ahead and press continue. It'll take you to this slide. This, or actually, I'm sorry, this is still on the same slide. I just broke our page. I just broke it up. Lastly, you're going to indicate if this project is associated with another application. So this is going to be for your new construction, rehabilitation combination projects. This lets us know. So if that is the situation, you'll select yes. At this point, go ahead and leave the application number blank. Once the application numbers are provided, we'll go ahead and tell you to enter that in a 15-day letter when we start processing these. But for right now, go ahead and leave it blank. Then the next page is going to be going over information to calculate certain preference points categories. You're going to indicate if the entity managing the charter school is nonprofit. Remember, that is a 501c3 or organized for the state corporations. Those are the only two ways you can be organized to be considered nonprofit. We do realize there are other ways to be organized to be considered nonprofit. Those are the only two that qualify for nonprofit preference points in our program. You will enter your free and reduced price meal percentage. It's important that you enter this with two decimals. So if your percentage was 87.5, it would be 0.50. And then you're going to indicate who you used. What percentage did you use? You can use the highest of either your percentage, the district average, or any other public school within 3 miles of that charter school general location you provided. If you do pick another school, then this additional information boxes will open up so you can tell us what school you picked and their address, so we can verify that that is the correct percentage and they are within 3 miles. So free and reduced priced meals percentage is used to calculate your preference points. You can get anywhere from 4 to 40 points, and they're the points for low income. The breakdown, there's a chart in regulation that provides the breakdown of how many points you get per percentage. We use the latest data published on CDE, and you, as I mentioned, can use the highest percentage of either your percentage, and this can be based on your current or proposed location, the district average, or any other public school located within the charter school general location. This last one is important to know that because I have mentioned so much about making sure the district serves the same grade level. For this category, grade level does not matter. So if you're an elementary school, you can look for any public school. It could be a high school that has a higher percentage within your 3 miles. One more thing to point out is we cannot verify, we're not going to be able to verify if there is another school within 3 miles that has a higher percentage than you. It's very difficult for us to do that since we aren't as familiar with the schools around you. We don't know if you could possibly be at the edge of a district. And so within 3 miles would be schools listed in another district. So you are going to be the one responsible for determining if there is a school within 3 miles with a higher percentage. So I would make sure you spend a good amount of time researching that. So to be able to find your free and reduced price meals, in case, I'm sure you all know what your percentage is, but in case you don't know where to find others, in the help text, there is a link built in. So throughout this entire online application, you'll see little circles with a question mark next to certain questions. That means there's help text that's been provided that explains it further. There is a link to CDE's data quest. And you can click on that link, or you can do this before you start your application and just go through the CDE's website. Here you're going to go ahead and search by district if you want to see what the district average is and see other schools in the district. You can also just search by a specific school. And then you're going to select free and reduced price meals, which is down at the bottom under other reports. You'll select the most current year. As you can see, the year we are in now has been updated. And then you'll type a portion of the school or district name. I'm searching by district. Click submit, and this will list all of the schools or districts with that name. Select the district you want. And since I'm searching by district, I want to see a list of all of the schools to see if there's anyone that has a higher percentage. So you're going to go ahead and select free and reduced price meals, district summary with school data. Click submit, and it'll pull up a list for you. So here's my school right here. I have 58.5%, but the district average is 66.9. So I already know I'm at least using that. But there are some other schools with higher percentages. So that's where you come in and you'll go ahead and figure out, okay, are any of these schools located within 3 miles of me? Remember, as I mentioned, if you're located, say, on the edge of a district, you may have to do 2 of these and look at schools listed in both districts if there are other district schools located within 3 miles. So once you've done that, enter in your free and reduced price meal percentage. Remember, you use 2 decimals. And then going back to that screen, the preference points. Now the next screen, is the funding matrix criteria. Here you will select your locale up here. The options are urban, suburban, and rural. You'll enter your current charter school enrollment. This is going to be the current CBEDs published on CDE's website. You can use your current enrollment roster only if you do not have CBEDs published on CDE's website. And then lastly, you are going to select the highest grade you are approved to serve in your petition. This right here will determine if you are going to be grouped as a K through 6, a 7 through 8, or a 9 through 12 charter school. Locale code, to get that code, we use the codes that are classified by the National Center for Education Statistics. You can use either the locale where your school is located now or the proposed location. If your proposed location is going to be a new site, you can then use a school closest to that proposed location. Indicate in your project narrative, please, the address you use so we can verify it. And then this is used to determine if we're going to put you in the category for urban, rural, or suburban. And here are the locale code numbers that qualify for each of those categories. The locale code, again, this link is included in the help text that is provided for that section in the application. So you can go ahead and just access it there. You'll enter a portion of the name. This database is one of those that's pretty sensitive. Sometimes if you do your entire school name, even if it's perfect, it won't find it. So sometimes it's a little more helpful just to type in a portion, and then you will select search. You will go ahead and then pick your school from that search list. And then locale is right here. It says locale, and then here is the number. It says this is rural, and a lot of times it aligns, but don't necessarily go by that. Go by your number here and then see what we classify it as. These are definitions. So then current enrollment, going back again to the screen where you entered your CBEDs, this is going to be used to determine if you're going to be classified as a small, medium, or large charter school. So again, these are categories in the funding matrix. And here is the enrollment that qualifies you for each of those sections. So now that we've gone through the application details, the preference points, and the funding matrix information. So those 3 slides, as I mentioned, you're going to see them on both applications. They're going to look exactly the same, whether you're applying for new construction or rehab. The next 3 slides are also in both new construction and rehab, and they're going to look different. So you are going to have a different data entry screen for new construction, different data entry screen for rehab. So I'm first going to go over rehab and what that looks like. And then I will go back and start at the beginning and show you what it looks like for new construction. So for rehab project capacity, you are going to enter by grade level the number of classrooms that are going to be rehabilitated. So again, this is by grade level. If this is a 6 through 8 school, you are going to select yes, and then enter how many of these classrooms are 6th graders. Once you've entered that information, are used by 6th graders. Once you've entered that information, you'll go ahead and go to the next slide. This is your site information. You're going to enter your recommended CDE recommended acres from your letter here. You're going to enter your proposed project name, which for Charter 5009s, please make sure you enter the legal name of your charter school. This would be the name of your charter school as it appears on your petition. Enter the existing acres available to the charter school at the site. Now, this is not provided in the CDE letter. You're going to have to attain this yourself, either from the district or another means. We don't have this information. So again, that's not in the letter, but enter your existing acres. And then if this is a combination new construction rehabilitation project, and the new construction project is going to request site acquisition, maybe the new construction project is going to purchase an acre that's next door to expand the site, then you would put the proposed acres, what you plan to buy here, so that we can add the 2 together. Lastly, you are going to select the site where the project will be located from this drop-down box. So if you look at that list of schools and you do not see the site where your project is going to be located, or you see it, but you realize that the name has since changed, then you can email us to add the site or to change the name. But again, let me put in a little caveat here. If that scenario that I was talking about earlier, where you are a charter school applying under a district that is not your authorizer, that's why you're not going to see your list. Your list probably does exist, but under your authorizing district. And so at this point, we don't want to add a site, excuse me, because that would make your school in here twice, technically. So for charters that are applying under districts that are not their authorizer, at this point, select not listed. You should still be able to submit. I've tested this, and you should still be able to submit your application, even though it says you can't. And then if you receive a preliminary apportionment, we will fix this at that point. The next screen is your project costs screen. This is where you will enter the square footage that you are going to rehabilitate. So you'll enter your total non-toilet square footage that's eligible for rehabilitation and you're going to include in the project, and your total eligible toilet. The next question that'll come up is going to be if your project is located in a geographic area. In this help text right here, if you click on that, there is a link to a chart that shows by county who qualifies for an increase. If you see your county on there, you can go ahead and enter the corresponding percentage. If your county definitely does not qualify for a geographic increase, this question may not appear. But this question may appear if you maybe are in a county where once you look at this chart, you might see there are some where it says, okay, this county, but only if you're, over 10 miles away from this freeway and south of this point. So this question may appear, and when you look at that chart, upon further investigation, you might realize you don't qualify, and then you could select no. But if you don't see this, don't be concerned. That means that you definitely do not qualify for that increase to the grant. If your project is going to house less than 200 pupils or less, you can select the small size grant. When you do select that, if you say yes, a second question is going to pop up and it's going to ask, okay, are you going to get an increase of 12% because you house less than 101? Or are you going to get an increase for 4% because you house 200 or less? So you'll answer that question. I just want to point out that it's the project. So if you have a combination rehabilitation new construction project that individually they both house less than 200, but when you put them together, or maybe individually one qualifies and the other, that math wasn't going to be right. But when you put them together, they house over 200, then it doesn't qualify. You got to look at the project as a whole. Next, you are going to select if you qualify for the Urban Security Impacted Site Grant. You would qualify in a rehabilitation project if the existing acres plus the usable, the proposed, if you are a combination new construction rehab project. But if the acres available for the project are 60% or less than what that CDE letter recommends for the project, then you can request urban security for rehabilitation. Next, you will indicate if the project is going to include a 2-stop elevator, and if it will, how many. And then if that 2-stop elevator will have an extra stop, this would be if you have a 3-story building or a 4-story building, you would select yes, and then how many extra stops? Maybe 1, maybe 2 if it was a 4-story. And then press continue. Okay, so then that got us through those 3 slides: project capacity, site info, and project costs that are specific just to rehabilitation. So now we're going to go back and look at those 3 slides, and you can see what they look like now for new construction projects. So here we're going to enter the pupil grants that you are requesting by grade level. Remember that we have specific loading standards. So this is how we fund based on the classrooms you are going to construct in a classroom and their grade level. We assign 25 pupils for every K through 6 classroom and 27 pupils for every 7 through 12, 13 pupils for every non-severe classroom, and 9 for every severe. After you enter your pupils, you will select if it's a 6 through 8 school or not. If you say yes, then you will enter the number of 6th grade pupils down in the box right here. Then below that, so this is still on the same screen, project capacity, you are now going to say, okay, how many classrooms you are going to construct by grade level. So remember what we loaded on the previous screen, there's 25 pupils per classroom. We requested 50 K through 6, 25 pupils per K6 classroom. We requested 50, so we have to build at least 2 classrooms. Here we requested 54, so we have to build at least 2 classrooms. You have to build at least enough classrooms to support the pupil grants that you request. This last section of that, we're still on the project capacity screen, is where you will indicate if the district certified or will certify that the charter project will house district pupils. Now, many of you may not have this information yet. If you have looked at the application submittal checklist, there is, this information is required, but we do state on there that this can come in later after your application is submitted. You don't have to wait for this to submit your application. But this form does require that either yes or no be selected. So I would only select no if you know for sure that the district is not going to certify. If you know they will certify or you don't know what they're going to do yet, go ahead and select yes. That way we know that this point system, this preference point category is still open and awaiting additional information. If you select no, it'll give us the information that we know, okay, we can close out this point category for your application. If you happen to know, if you select yes, this next section is going to pop up where it asks for the pupils. This does not need to be filled out. But if you do know what they are at this time, you can go ahead and enter in how many pupils the district certified would be housed by your project. Now, this entire section can be edited later, it can be answered later, and then the yes, no can be changed at future revisions. So don't worry about that. But the key thing is, most of you will probably be selecting yes to this. Please only select no if you know for sure that the district is not going to certify that their pupils will be housed. So now that takes us on to the next screen. This is the site info screen for new construction projects. Again, you'll enter your CDE recommended acres. Again, the proposed project name. This is going to be, again, the charter school name as it appears on the petition. You are going to select the site where the project will be located. So for additions to an existing site or your combination rehab, new construction projects, your site will most likely be listed here. For new sites, if you're going to be buying property and building a new site, please select your charter school's current site. We don't want to add all of those possible new sites yet to our site. So you will select your current site if you are going to be buying a piece of property. So we don't have to add that yet. And then you will go ahead and add in the existing acres available to the charter school if applicable. This would be, again, in addition to an existing site. Just like with the rehab, if you need to select a site, so you aren't doing new construction or something like that. If your site is not listed and you are applying in a district that is not your authorizer, same process applies. Just select not listed and go ahead and submit that way because we don't want to add that site in there twice. Still on the site info, your next question is going to be if the project includes site acquisition. If you select yes, these additional questions will pop up. It's going to ask you how many acres you plan to purchase, and then it'll ask you to enter in the 50% of that estimated cost to purchase it. So that estimated cost can either be based on an appraisal for the site. If you're going to do an appraisal, it does need to have a valuation date dated within 6 months of when the application came in, but it can be a preliminary appraisal. Many of you will probably use the median cost per acre valuation, where you report all of the sales that happened going back at least 6 months to a maximum of 2 years, and then using a radius of at least 1 mile to a maximum of 3 miles from a cross street, your general charter school location, and reporting all of those sales and calculating basically a median cost per acre for those sales. There is a lot more information on median cost and the appraisal requirements in the checklist. So please make sure you see that. But really important, just make sure when you are reporting your cost here, it's the 50% amount, so not the full amount that you're estimating you're going to need to buy that site. If you are using a median cost and not an appraisal, you'll go ahead and enter your cross street or address here that is the center point for that radius. And then these again are questions that would only be visible if you selected yes to site acquisition. We're still on that site info page. If you also want to request relocation or DTSC fees, you would select yes. Let me just clarify, relocation is not costs associated with moving your charter school from its current location to the new location. Relocation is something that it applies to reimbursing businesses or private residences for costs when they have to relocate because a district has acquired a site through condemnation. So most applications won't have relocation in them, but this is combined with DTSC. This is the Department of Toxic Substance Control. And to request it, you would just select yes. Then there's going to be a drop-down menu where it's going to ask, do you want 15% of the purchase price that you reported for these costs reserved, or do you have historical or actual costs that you want to request instead? If you do request the historical or actual, you do need to submit that backup. Next, it'll ask if you are going to request hazardous waste removal. And you can just select yes or no, and then you can enter an amount here that you estimate that to cost. And then lastly, it'll ask if you want to request the 2% grant. This is 2% of the site acquisition costs. And this is what pays for kind of a lot of the smaller costs you're going to incur with acquiring a site, such as closing costs, appraisal, getting those initial CDE site approvals, and initial testing. Press continue when you're done with that question, and it'll take you on to the project costs page. This page is pretty big too, so I've broken it up into a couple of different slides, so it's not this small when you open it. You're going to indicate if you are going to have multi-level construction in the project and you want to request the multi-level grant. To qualify for this, your site acreage has to be less than 75% of CDE's recommended acreage. If you select yes, then another question is going to pop up asking if you want to request the urban security impacted site and if you qualify for that. To qualify for this grant, there has to be multi-level construction in the project. Your acres for the site need to be 60% or less than CDE's recommended site size. And if you're purchasing a site, the cost to purchase the site has to be $750,000 per acre or more. If you are not purchasing a site, that requirement goes away. Next on this project costs screen, you'll determine if you want to request site development. This is going to be funding for service site, offsite, and utilities cost. If you do, then it'll ask you if you want to select $70,000 per acre in the project or a historical cost. A historical cost would be if you already have an approved site development worksheet from a previous project. If you don't have that, then you would request your $70,000 per proposed cost. Then indicate if you want to request the general site grant. This provides funding for general site work on the project site. You do have to have site acquisition in the project to qualify for this. So if you don't, then select no. Then that same question about geographic. Again, the chart indicating if counties do get that percentage or areas of counties is in this help text here. And again, as with rehabilitation, this question should only show up if you do qualify based on your county or might qualify, and you need to look and do a little more information. So if you don't see this question, don't worry. It means based on your location, you definitely don't qualify. But you will go ahead and select yes, enter in the percentage that is listed in the chart if you do. And then again, the same question of will this project house less than 200 pupils? and select the corresponding percentage. Just remember, again, it's the entire project if you have a combination rehab new construction project. So then that takes us out of the new construction only specific slides. And now we are back into a slide that you will see on both applications looking exactly the same. So this is where you are going to indicate if you are going to request a loan. If you are going to request, if you know for sure you are not going to request a loan, select no. If you are going to request a loan, select yes, even if you're going to select partial. Maybe you're going to do half loan, half cash, then you select yes. So only select no if you know for sure, nope, we're going to contribute 100% privately for our match. Don't enter how much you want to request for a loan yet. Go down here to this little box right here. And if you collect here, it's going to take you to your current estimated unverified grant calculations for this project. So one thing I want to point out is this is the only link that has that works currently for Charter 5009. When you log in to OPSC Online on the dashboard, you will see in the upper right-hand corner a picture of a calculator and it says grants. That is a grant calculator, but it does not work yet for Charter 5009s or 5004s. So make sure you use this link if you want to, go through and kind of enter the information and see roughly how much, you would qualify for. So if you click on that link, it's going to take you to a really, there's a lot of information on this page. You wouldn't be able to make any of it out if I had screen printed the whole page, but basically to the left side, it has all of the questions with what you answered. And on the right side, it has a running tally like this, where it shows each grant that was calculated. Up at the top, it has your total grant amount right here. This is your state grant. So all of the information you're entering in this application is calculating the state grant. Hence why when you enter in a dollar amount, it's asking for the 50% amount. As we mentioned in our previous webinar, our programs are 50-50 under the charter program, where you get half of it as a state grant and the other half the applicant has to match, either through a cash contribution or a loan. So this right here is the total grant amount, meaning the total amount of bond authority that would be reserved for your project. Again, this is an estimated amount. It's not verified. We haven't gone through and verified your submitted supporting documents to make sure you qualify for all of these grants, or done our second, manual calculation to make sure there wasn't anything wrong. But since it is the amount of bond authority reserved for the project, if you enter a loan amount, once you enter a loan amount and save it, it's going to be in here too. So that's why I said at the other page, don't enter your loan amount yet, because it's going to make you think your state grant is twice what it really is. Once you see what your state grant is, this is that same page. It's the grant calculator page, but it is the upper kind of left corner of that page. I just want to show you how to go back and enter in your loan amount. Don't use this button here. This is going to take you to a home page for your application. You'll have to click on it and kind of go page forward to get back to where you were. You'll see up here where you were is still open. That page is still open. So just click on that. Then that'll take you back to where you need to enter in your loan information right here. So you can enter in up to that state grant amount. You can also, like I said, enter in maybe half, because the other half is going to be a cash contribution. So you'll enter in the amount that you anticipate requesting for your loan. Please keep in mind, this is informational only. So when you start working with CSFA, they are going to be the ones that you're going to work with to really determine, yes, I'm taking a loan and how much. This is for us. So we kind of know how much bond authority your project will possibly need as we are going down and determining, how many projects we can fund while we're waiting, for the financial review process. So this can change. You're not tied to, you can select no now. And then as you're working with CSFA, realize, nope, we do want to lease, or vice versa. and then the amount can change. But this is informational only, so to the best of your knowledge at this point. You'll hit continue to move on. And then this information, this project progress section, most of you are going to select no to this. This is going to be if you have already started your project. Maybe if you've got district applicants, that might be common where they had already started a project for their charter school and this round occurred and now they're applying. But most of you probably haven't even started your project. You'll select no and continue, move on to the next screen. If you have started your project and construction contracts have been awarded, you'll select yes, and you will go ahead and click this add button to add the information for your contracts. It'll open up a little pop-up screen so you can add the information and then click add contact for it to save. Once you're done adding your contract, you can use this little X to close the box and then it'll take you back to the screen. And then that completes the data entry of the application. If you were a delegate filling this out, at this point, you wouldn't be able to go any further. But district and charter school representatives, what you would do at this point is enter that school board resolution that supports the submittal of the application. And then you are going to scroll down, but while you're scrolling, make sure you read these certifications. They're very important because you are certifying you understand them and that you promise to do them. When you get to the bottom of the certifications, you're going to select yes, that you certify, that you understand and agree the certifications, and you are going to fill out all of your information here. District representatives, there'll be less information to fill out because our district representatives are already registered online with us in OPSC. But once you've filled out all of the information, click continue, and then it'll take you to a review page. So at this point, you can scroll down. It's just one long page that'll keep going, and it'll show all of your answers to all of your questions. If you see something that you want to change, you can just click edit page and it'll open that page up. It'll look just like what you were seeing when you were filling it out. And then you can edit that and then move forward through the application and make any other edits that you want. When you are ready to submit, you then will click submit here, but very important, don't submit until May 2nd. So let's say you're going to log on today after this presentation. At this point, you would stop, you wouldn't submit, and all of this will be saved as a draft on your dashboard. So you can go back in and submit it, when May 2nd happens. But let's pretend it's May 2nd. You'll go ahead and click on this little submit section there. You are going to select that you have uploaded all of the documents. Well, first click on here, and then you can upload your documents. When you do that, this will indicate that the documents have been uploaded, and you are going to click the little certification box right here. Again, here is another list of the charter, the docs that are required for the 5009. When you are uploading the docs, keep in mind, we can't have anything larger than 20 millibytes, or megabytes. So if you have something bigger than that, break it up maybe into a couple of parts so that it is smaller, or if you can resize it so that it's smaller, so that you can go ahead and upload that. And then once all of that's complete, you will go ahead and select submit paperless application. Again, don't do that until May 2nd, because then you'll have to start this process all over again and submit when we will start accepting applications. After you press submit, you'll get your confirmation page here. You can download a PDF version if you want for your files. Just keep in mind that some of the questions are phrased differently in the OPSC online application to kind of make it a little more clear on what to enter. Also, the information is entered in a little different order online than it is in the online, the hard copy application. There's also more questions online that we needed to know so we could build in our calculations. So you will see a lot less information on the PDF. One thing, when you submit your application, right here is your application number and your submittal date. If you look at that date and it's before 5/2, this isn't valid. You're going to need to do it again. If you look at that date and it's after June 3rd, then it's too late. We are not going to process it. Also, application number here, the charter applications begin with the number 5/4. If you see another number there, then somehow along the way, and you probably would have noticed this because the questions all look different, but just in case you didn't, if you see a different number, then you didn't apply to the charter program. And I won't be seeing those applications to even know that you applied incorrectly. So just do a double check there. Again, I think you would notice as you were answering the questions, but just in case. Then if you want to, this is that page just enlarged. We were just here looking at this section. Then if you want to add another application, maybe you've got your corresponding rehabilitation application to submit, you will just click right here on dashboard, and that will take you to the screen where you were able to click on create new application. If you click on application right here, it'll take you to the application homepage for the one you just created. And that looks like this. So this is where if you log in, so that you've saved your draft and later on, you're going to come back and maybe, finish answering some questions. You log in, it would go to your dashboard. You'll see your draft listed. You click on it. This is where it'll take you. You can see the status. So I know it's been submitted. If it was draft, it would say draft. You can upload files here. So this is where, if let's say, you needed to upload some more, maybe when you said yes, all the files have been uploaded and you submitted everything afterwards, you realize, oh no, I forgot that one file. I need to upload it. You can come here. As we're processing your applications, if you receive a letter from us letting you know we need you to revise your application, you'll come here and you'll go ahead and access this to basically create a new draft, make the changes that we want, and submit a new version. So that looks like this. So this is that same screen, just a little further over to the right. There is an options link next to your submitted app. And in here, you can duplicate as draft to do what I was just mentioning if you needed to, say, fix something and resubmit to us. But you can also copy a link to this application. So this would be helpful for a consultant or a delegate who is entering the information for the charter or district. They could then come to this page, copy the link, and then they can email it to that representative. The representative can then open the link, which will take them to the entire application, review that the information's right, and then the district or charter rep will be the one that has to enter in the resolution date. The delegate can't do that, but they'll need to enter the resolution date, their personal information, sign and date, and submit the form. One thing I want to point out, if you're going through this application and you say, let's say you select yes to site acquisition and you realize, oh, no, I meant to say no. You will click on the no to change it to no. Well, this message might pop up and it says this will result in the deletion of all related application data. Proceed. Go ahead and select yes. It's not going to delete every single thing you've entered from this point up to this point. If you selected yes to site acquisition and then entered, a value or information below, it's going to delete all of that, everything associated with that question, because now you're selecting no. But that's it. Just in case you get a little nervous with the way that's phrased. So that completes how to fill out and submit the online application. I wanted to provide just a few quick notes about the 5009. I already mentioned that the questions will look a little different, and there are more questions on OPSC Online. They're also in a little slightly different order, but it's not too different if you were to say want to fill out the 5009 and use it as notes that has the information to fill out the OPSC Online application. One thing though is the 5009 there's just one, so you use the same form for new construction or rehab. So there are sections that specifically say rehabilitation only or new construction only. If you're filling this out online, you're going to see only new construction, only things you need to fill out. The rehab has been removed from new construction and vice versa. So just keep that in mind. Read the section headers to make sure, oh, I'm applying for rehab. This says new construction only. I can't ignore it. Also, one of the questions we've added to online is if you do select that school within 3 miles for your free and reduced price meal percentage, we've asked you to enter the school name and address. Well, that's not on the application. So we ask, and we've asked this with previous rounds too, just manually enter the school name and address. You'll see where the specific question is on the form itself. There's a huge blank space below it. You can handwrite, you can type it in, whatever is easiest for you, so that we have that information. It'll help us with processing. The form is located on the charter webpage. At the bottom, you'll see there's a section that says forms, and it's the SAB 5009. But please keep in mind that we really do prefer that these applications are submitted online. It will help tremendously with processing this round quickly. If you do submit the 5009 by email, I will manually enter it online. So at one point, it'll eventually go to that, and you'll have to start replying using the online. So it will be that way eventually. But hopefully, we'll only get these emailed applications if there is something that, something unpreventable and it just was not working for you to use the online application. And then just briefly, just to give you an idea of our review process, all of the applications, can come in between May 2nd and June 3rd. We will look at all of the applications to verify the information provided to identify preference points and your funding matrix categories. We will go ahead and put the applications in a draft kind of funding matrix once that information has been verified and confirmed. And then we will only then review further the most competitive projects. So all projects will be reviewed to make sure the points are right, your funding categories are right, but only some will be reviewed for the additional information, such as your project costs and things like that. Keep in mind that we do over review a bit, so that way we're not in a pickle if somebody falls out. So the fact that you did get a further review does not guarantee funding. With both of these processes, reviewing the funding matrix and points, and then reviewing the additional review for those certain projects, there will be a 15 4-day process where we send letters letting you know what we need, if we need additional information to clarify, or if we think maybe something was wrong and we need it corrected. So those will be, that's how we deal with that process. And then once we know who is going to receive a preliminary apportionment, we've determined, and finalized our matrix and have finalized who is eligible and who can get funded with the bond authority we have. And CSFA has found those people financially sound. We will then provide preliminary apportionments with the bond authority available at that time. As of our April board meeting, which just happened yesterday, we now have 159.6 million available in the charter program. We had some additional projects rescind, which gave us some additional bond authority. But keep in mind that as projects come in, currently active projects come in to convert their preliminary to a final apportionment, they will be able to draw down on that bond authority. So this is a dollar amount that probably will be, increasing and decreasing, kind of going up and down as we are processing this round. But as of April, that is how much we have available. And every board meeting we have, the available bond authority is reported. So that's something you can see each month. When we do award the preliminary apportionments, from that date, the list, that funding matrix that I will put all of these applications into, will remain open for 12 months. That will allow us to continue going down and awarding preliminary apportionments if any additional projects possibly rescind or maybe convert and end up not needing all of the bond authority that they used, or principal payments on loans come in and they build up to be enough to fund a project. So it'll be open for 12 months. Keep in mind that if bond authority becomes available because the voters approve a new bond, that won't be used for this project. We would have to have an entirely different application round for that. Here are some very important web links. This is the link to the online application. Here is the link to DataQuest for your free and reduced price meal percentage search. Here is the link for the locale codes. This is the link to our charter school page. On here is that application submittal checklist also, so you don't have to wait until you're filling out that application. An example on the funding matrix and how it works. On here also, in case any of you haven't yet notified your district, are template letters to use. There's one for new construction and one for rehab. You just change your specific information. So those are very helpful. The form, the hard copy form 5009, if you end up having to submit by email, is there. And then here's a link to our regulations. You'll see throughout the slide and also on the previous presentation, if you watch that one too, that certain sections, I've notated the section of regulation where you can find more information. Here's where you go for those regulations to get that additional information. I am your contact while you're going through this process. Please call me if you have any questions. I do not mind at all walking you through how to enter the information in the online application system. We can have a meeting like this and screen share or any other questions you might have. Again, remember, Monday through Friday is when myself or the people that would be creating your PTN or account are here. So, we aren't available in the evenings or weekends, but don't hesitate to call or email if you want to set up some time to go over that information. And that completes our presentation. I'm wondering if I should leave this open so we can do questions now. Barbara, what do you think? Should